vinyl community? Welcome to another video with the Record Spinner. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about the pros and cons of record buying. Now, when it comes to buying records, there are indeed two sides of the coin. There's shopping for vinyl at record stores and shopping for vinyl online. And there are indeed pros and cons to both of those aspects, so I'm going to dig into them right here in this video. I'm going to start off talking about shopping for vinyl at record stores, and I would say the biggest pro when it comes to that, and this is specifically towards used vinyl, is that a buyer can actually examine for themselves the condition of that record and if it is justifiable purchasing and adding to their collection. When it comes to what a collector and a buyer is looking for, it's all very subjective to one extent or another. Let's say if the cover is roached but the vinyl is in mint condition, or vice versa, that might be the reason why someone wants to buy that record and add it to their collection, and that's totally okay. And with that said, it just really kind of goes to show that there is no definitive rule when it comes to collecting. Everyone has their own reasons on why they do it, and of course, cliche as it may sound, to each their own. Another great thing about shopping at record stores is that you can actually check out the bargain bins and do some crate digging and perhaps come across a record that you would never suspect you'd find at your local record store just laying in the cheap bins, or sometimes you might find what you could call an instinct buy because the cover looked cool or it just looks a little different. So that aspect is always great as well. And then, of course, there is simply meeting people at record stores and creating friends with owners and workers and building up connections. And that all kind of adds to the experience. Perhaps if they're kind of into the same stuff as you, they might be able to guide you into something that you wouldn't really discover on your own. So, of course, that's building up music taste as well. So it really is nice to have all that when you shop at a local record store, or any record store for that matter. And then, of course, there is simply the, I guess you could say if you're on a manhunt looking for a particular record and you go to a certain record store and you actually find it there, it adds an automatic memory to that buying experience, and it's one of those cases where you know where you were, you knew what you were doing, and you knew what was going on. And that's one of the cool things with records, is that there's that sort of attachment to it, and you lose a little bit of that when it comes to buying records from an online retailer, because you're essentially just getting it, at your front door and that's it. But then, of course, at the end of the day, you simply own the records and you're glad to own them, and that's the final call of the day. I would say the biggest con when it comes to buying vinyl at record stores is sometimes the selection. I would say that they're definitely going to want to cater more to what the people are really seeking out than what maybe a small percentage is looking for. Let's say, for example, someone's getting into collecting vinyl, or buying vinyl for that matter, and they want to get, Pink Floyd records. They're going to go for Dark Side of the Moon and The Wall, and those two albums are easily obtainable, and, they're not really going to go for albums like More or Amagama. It's just one of those situations, so stores are going to cater more to what they know will sell in large quantities, and that can be irritating for someone that might be looking for a bit of an obscure album, and that's when online retailers tend to come in handy sometimes. And then on top of that, I would say, depending on the store, the price of new vinyl can be a bit steep. Like I said, it all kind of really depends on the local independent stores. Some stores sell them cheap, some stores sell them rather expensive. But then, of course, if you're buying records from major distributors such as FYE and Urban Outfitters, you are indeed going to be paying a premium. But then again, after working in retail, I do understand that basically the distributor has to make their end of it. So what they do is they kind of raise the average price about a couple, I would say 20-30%. That way they make their cut. But in a buyer's perspective, they're not really thinking of that. They just want to get the most bang for their buck. And sometimes, they may have to end up spending whatever at stores like that so they can get the records that they want. So that's with record stores. Now let's get on to buying records online. The biggest pro when it comes to buying records online is indeed the price. And the best place to buy records online is Amazon. Amazon is constantly dropping prices left and right of records, and if you have a Prime membership, they'll even drop prices even lower exclusively for the Prime members. And then, of course, with free 2-day shipping, I mean, yes, I understand waiting for packages and records and whatnot can seem a bit irritating if you're really excited, but with Prime, it's free, free shipping in 2 days. It's really worth it. And, you know, a lot of this collection right here has been based off of, you know, Amazon price drops, and that's the really great thing about it. And of course, there is a more wider range of inventory. So like I said, with record stores, it's kind of a bit selective, but online, it's a whole plethora of stuff that you can come across. And I would say the biggest con of buying records online, and this goes for used vinyl, is that sometimes used vinyl isn't properly graded, or even overgraded for that matter. And sometimes if a record is being sold and being described to be a certain condition, and once you get it, it is the almost, I guess you could, not opposite, but not what was listed. That is one downside, and that's a whole other process that is rather irritating to go through. And then, of course, there is the possible damaging that can be done while a record is being transported, most notably seam splits, or if the postal or parcel service just simply does not care. Packages tend to get bent, and that could crease up covers, and that is technically damaged. But of course, depending on the person, it might irk them and want them to send them back and hopefully get a replacement. Or for some, they just kind of let it slide, and that's it. But like I said, it's all subjective. So that right there are the biggest pros and cons of record buying. Now here is a question for you. What do you think, in your opinion, are the pros and cons of record buying? Please let me know down in the comment section below. I'd love to know. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. See you guys in the next video, and most importantly, keep the record spinning.